Nicholas asks, you talked a lot about Sweet, and especially Fox on the Run. I wonder your favourite album is. I personally like both Desolation Boulevard and Sweet Fanny Adams. I don't like Desolation Boulevard. I know it's sacrilege, but I just don't like it. I think it's just, there's a load. I don't like the song that, the big Solid Gold Brass, which just goes on and on. It's not really anything interesting. And then they got that song that's basically a drum solo on the other side, presumably trying to copy Moby Dick. But I just, the songs aren't there. Give Us a Wink is my favourite of those of that era. Give Us a Wink is just bang, 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 bang. Killer songs. I think Action's on there, isn't it? But yeah, Give Us a Wink is the one that I find myself returning to. And I keep trying to go back and like Desolation Boulevard, and it's just lumpy. I find it just a little bit turgid and kind of, I'm still on side one kind of thing, you know. But I will say that I wasn't a big fan of Love Is Like Oxygen. Is that the name of the album? But the one with Love Is Like Oxygen, I'm not a big fan of that. But I love when they went as a three-piece and they did Identity Crisis and two others, you know, generic title albums. But they had three albums I wasn't even aware of. And I found one of these things that you can find on Amazon where you get like 3 albums for $5 or something like that. And they had these three Sweet albums I'd never heard of. And I'm just like, oh, I'm having them. And I played nothing. I think I played those albums back to back for about 6 months. At least 6 months. Absolutely brilliant. The whole sound of Sweet there. Obviously without Brian Connolly's raspy vocals, but still the beautiful harmonies, great writing, really cringy lyrics on some of them because, you know, it was the late 70s, early 80s, and there's a lot of real misogynistic stuff that you've just got to be like, I'll just skip that one, thank you very much. But really good albums. Razor's Edge was another one. See what I mean? Just generic titles that probably loads of albums are called. But Identity Crisis, Razor's Edge, and another one. But they're really highly recommended, and not a lot of people know about them. But yep, that's my favourite Sweet album, is Give Us a Wink. Dave asks, over recent years, you've been very open and honest about your mental health and depression. Yes, because I believe that you have to be. It's well documented that over the years you've consumed more than a reasonable amount of drugs and alcohol. Do you think this has contributed to your poor mental health? And if there's a proven link, would you now refrain from both altogether? Well, Dave, I do think that there's a link between alcohol and drugs, mainly because the thing what you got to remember about addiction is alcohol and drugs aren't the problem. They're the solution to the problem. They numb the problem. I used to drink a lot and I'd wake up in a hangover. I didn't stop drinking, by the way, but if I ever drink too much and I get a little bit of a hangover, it fucks me. It fucks my mental health. My depression comes back straight away. I just can't drink that much because it's dangerous for me. But to give up alcohol because I think that alcohol is the problem is like, to me, it's personally speaking, and you can only talk personally about these things. I think that that's ignoring the problem. It's creating a problem. You know, it's vilifying this thing that you're just using to numb it, you know, which is why I don't think alcohol is a bad thing. I don't think drugs are a bad thing if used properly. We're all on drugs. Jesus Christ, everyone's rattling from prescription drugs anyway, you know, so I've got no, you know, ill words about alcohol or drugs, but I think that their association with the problems in people's life is in itself a problem. And I always thought that I want to get an angle on what's wrong, what is causing my issues. And I did give up alcohol for a long time and went to work on the problems. And the thing is, everyone knows what their problems are, and the main problem, the first problem, is fear. And you know, fear is the greatest emotion known to our species, and the biggest fear is fear of the unknown. I was scared of a lot of things, and I was just stopping myself from facing them with alcohol and with drugs. And I think a lot of people are doing that. Not everyone. I do believe that there are alcoholics, whiskies, got to stop. You know, drug addicts, I know them, got to stop. But for a lot of people, the problem is something deep-seated and untapped, something that they're not dealing with. I had to go away and figure mine. And I went away like I said, a few times to the countryside to disappear, to turn into a blank sheet and to rebuild myself into the person that I wanted to be. During the course of that, and working on my fears, my own personal fears, I realised that there's nothing to fear. Once you address your fear, it stops being scary. Fear is only in your imagination. The ego likes to pull you back to places that are comfortable. Ego, it's not doing anything wrong. It's just going like, don't do the scary thing. Just come back here. Even if things are miserable, open up another bottle. You'll be fine. We'll get through another day. And that was my hand-to-mouth existence, just drinking myself through every single day. It wasn't going to work for me because things were looking dark. It wasn't going to improve and I needed some time off. But to think that that was the solution, give up alcohol, everything's fixed. It's folly. It's crazy. So I realized that I need to tackle my fear. This thing called fear. I need to tackle that. What am I scared of? I was scared of a lot of things. Isolating. I was scared of facing up to myself. Who the fuck am I? I was scared of confrontation. I was scared of non-confrontation. I had a list of things that I had to go through, and I just made an inventory and I tackled every single one of them. And, 6 months down the line, I thought, I want a glass of wine. And I went back and I had a glass of wine. And eventually that turned into 2 glasses, and that turned into going out and drinking whiskey on stage. And I'm like, I haven't tackled all my problems. I think I've tackled them all, but I've still got some fear somewhere. Back off the drink and back into work. And that's the way I've dealt with it. I think that's probably the best way for a lot of people to deal with things is don't vilify and put on a pedestal this evil thing called alcohol, because it's getting too big a credit. And you turn it into an evil, you're creating an evil super being like Khrushchev did with, who was it again? Gaddafi, yeah. They made a super being out of Gaddafi because he was just this guy messing about with politics. And Khrushchev went over there and says, do you want to be an evil enemy? You're the bad guy to America's good guy. And it was like, I've got nothing much else going on. And I think that's what people are doing with alcohol. They're inventing this evil thing that they can throw all their darts at. So yeah, I went to work, got to down to the real nitty gritty of what it is I'm still going through. And now I have a glass of wine and I don't want a whiskey and I don't want another glass of wine. And I realized that it's not the alcohol that was my problem. It was the things that I was numbing with alcohol. If we're honest with ourselves, we're all doing that thing, we're avoiding doing the scary thing. And the thing is, your imagination is creating the scary thing. It's fantasy. You're living in fear of fantasy because when you're doing anything, and this means anything, it's not scary anymore. You're just in there doing it, and the fear's gone. It's that. Just diving from one thing to the other, that moment is what stops people, and that's why they go back to their habits, and that's back to the ego telling you this is good, just pick up the crack pipe, at least you know how that works. And now I've got to the point where I've tackled so many fears, I'm looking round for things to tackle now, and it's been really worth it. 18 months of solid work, and it really has been worth it. That might sound a lot to someone who hasn't really started doing the work yet, but back in the other life, I didn't have 18 months. So this is all borrowed time. Anyway, Mark Archer asks, you're looking well these days. Hard to believe you're a sexagenarian. Have you eschewed all form of ices, booze, cigs, custard creams, and replaced them with exercise and green tea? Just answered that one. I haven't given up anything. I've given up on life. That's what I've given up on. I've given up on myself. I trust myself to do the job now. That's the only thing I've given up on. I still have alcohol. I quit the cigarettes a while ago. That was just something that was just not working for me. And now I see how much cigarettes cost in the shops. I've had drug habits that cost less than cigarette habits. Bad food, I still eat bad food. I'm aware that diet is really important in mental health. I don't believe you can have good mental health with a bad body. Now, I'm not talking about image, because that's the problem people make. They're making this mistake that, your body image is about your body. No, your healthy body makes a healthy mind. You can't have a happy life with an unhealthy body. I'm not talking about underweight, overweight, or anything like that, but just eating the right thing and getting some exercise every day. And it really is basic, you know what I mean? It's like, there you go. This is the meaning of life. Boom. Google, what exercise can I do at my level of fitness, and do it every day. And my motto is do something every day that tomorrow's going to benefit from. And that's all I do. However much, however little, as long as I do it every day, that was the clincher to let me know that I can control my own mind. Because back in the day, I'd know that I was out of shape. I'd know that I would have to do exercise. My mind would just go, I don't want to. You know what I mean? And I'd listen to it, you know. And I can't today. And that's a kind of thinking that I realised one of the things I had to change really quickly as well, because that thing was getting me into trouble. But if you can just do anything every single day, it's the beating your ego thing, beating your mind, beating your negative responses to having to do things. Once you've got that, you need that every single day anyway. So it's a good thing to learn. Even if you do get the body beautiful that you want, or you do get the whatever it is that you want, you'll still have to work at it every day, because that's how it works. Getting used to do something every day was a magic one for me. So yeah, I'll still have some junk food, especially when we go on tour. And it's just, tours are fueled on chocolate. And I love chocolate. There's no way. But if I'm at home, I've got to exercise every day. I've got to walk every day. I've got to eat protein. You know, if I'm going to try and get me body, I don't want a huge muscles or anything, but I do want to feel good. I want to move my skeleton often. And I think that's the one of the main things. When people tell you, oh, you got mental health problems, join a gym. Worst thing you could possibly do if you've got mental health problems is join a gym. Anxiety, depression, envy, guilt, all of these things that can compound whatever problems that you're already facing. Do your homework at home, you know, do the hard work at home, do some push-ups, some sit-ups, doesn't matter how many, just do them every fucking day. Get out for a walk, minimum of 30 minutes. And if you can't do that, there's something you can do that you don't want to do. And getting over that, I don't want to do it, that's the magic right there. So yeah, I still have shitty food, but I'm aware that I've got to have protein every day, got to cut down on carbs. That's just logic. And I got a dog, so I walk a lot. And it's working. It's working. And I've finally managed to lose all of the pudge and the beer weight that I had before. It was all just laziness. It was as much my mind as my diet, as my alcohol intake. It was just, my mind was just like, oh, we don't do that. That's not what we do. I think we're born lazy. We're not born evil and we're not born good. We're just born lazy. And it's up to us to evolve wherever we want. And if we want to evolve into being a bit of a cunt, there's probably something on the next dimension that, you know, cunts are part of. Imagine, all right, the fourth dimension's full of aliens and other stuff, but full of aliens. And pretty much all the aliens have got some dibs on this planet. Whatever it is, we're all sending energy up to be used somewhere. And this is just the next dimension because they evolve and they go somewhere else. But it stands to reason this, if it's an evolution of this, then there's probably cunts up there. And there's probably nice people up there. So we're born flatline. And it's up to us to decide where we're going to go, what we're going to grow into. And some people just get a bit cunty and some people get, you know, nice. And a lot of people, a dangerous amount of people, just stay lazy and just can't really be bothered. In which case, I think they're probably the ones that keep coming back time and time again to get the job right. You know, so choose what you want to be and be good at it. And even if you're going to be a wanker, don't be a part-time wanker. Fucking be a wanker. Be a poster boy for wankers. Wankers need poster boys as well. So, you know, if you're going to be a cunt, be a good one. Matt E. asks, Ginger, have you ever had a bad trip? And are you still pals with Victoria? I still love Victoria and you know, very, very fond of Victoria, but she's married to an ex-manager of mine. We had a very bad fallout, so it's unlikely that we're going to mix in the same circles. But, you know, I love Victoria, always did, and I have nothing but respect for her and nothing but good wishes. But have I ever had a bad trip? You know what? And this is a terrible thing to admit. I haven't. I never did. I always had a good trip on acid. it was at the time, obviously, it was the drug that really worked for me. And it taught me a lot about, it didn't show me much, but it taught me that this is not it. And a lot of the little glimpses that I had into, well, there's something else going on, I'm now having confirmed by being clear-headed and in nature. So acid definitely did open up a few doors. I just didn't know how to get through and what to do with them if I could. But I saw a lot of people having bad trips. And the thing is with a bad trip is it's cyclical. So if you start thinking that something's bad, your imagination starts fueling the trip and there's no getting out of it. And I've had bad trips where it's been spoiled by having to take someone to hospital to have their stomach pumped. I've seen a lot of that sort of stuff. People trying to hurt themselves on trips. So yeah, I would never say acid's a good thing. But for people who are searchers, people who want answers, curious little fellows like myself, acid works for people like us. It really does. And that's not condoning drugs before you start fucking getting on me back. Because like I say, there is no good or bad drugs. There's just people using them for the wrong reasons. I wanted to learn about things. I demanded answers to all of these fucking questions that I had in my head. And acid was one of the things that helped me do that. So yeah, I use my acid trips to try and break through, but wouldn't recommend it. Please don't go out and do acid because it worked for me. Lee asks a few questions here and I'll answer them all in short chunks. Of your various projects, what lyric are you most proud of? Impossible. I've written too many lyrics. Impossible. I like the fact that I still write lyrics I like. I like words. I've mentioned before that I don't mind bands who have shit words. That's not my thing. I'm not a snob, but I like personally to get the feeling that I've got out into the song, and not just musically, but lyrically. So I've always took pride on my lyrics. So I couldn't pick. The thing about lyrics is you couldn't pick a favourite because you move on and you look back at the lyric and go, oh, that's how I used to think. So as long as you just got it somewhere near what you wanted to say and how you said it, and ideally have it confirmed by someone else going, oh, I like that lyric, then great. But obviously, given that logic, my favourite lyrics are the ones that I'm writing currently. I don't know, have I got enough to write about? Am I still being inspired? What do I want to say? How do I want to make people feel? And so there's some great new lyrics for the next album. And some of the lyrics for the Satanic Rites I'm really happy with. But yeah, it changes. What was your favourite thought? Number 2, what song and album do you feel is your best work? My automatic thing is a song called Time from 555. And I would normally say 555 is the best album that I've done, just because of what it represented and how it affected my life. But it wasn't my best work because I wasn't that confident in my voice. I was still really grasping at straws as to how do you sing? What do you do? And working with some of the best singers in the business. So that didn't fucking help. But I think just getting, like I said, feeling of this is what I want to say and this is how I want it to not only sound but appear to other people. The Pessimist Companion, I would say, because it was a really, really dark time and I still get goosebumps if I ever have to listen to that album. It's got an inherent darkness to it. There's a darkness to the Mutation stuff as well, but that's supposed to be dark. Whereas Pessimist Companion is very pretty. It's very beautiful, but there's an aching in there that I think I just did manage to capture what was going on and had it confirmed by quite a few people that, that's what it feels like on your side of the stereo as well. But yeah, I like Pessimist Companion. That's the most effective one. I don't know favourites, but pretty effective. Miserable Bastard, miserable album. How do you approach songwriting? Do you tend towards lyrics or music first? Now, I think I've mentioned this before, but neither. It doesn't happen like that for me. You can have a lyric that inspires something. You can have a little guitar part that inspires something. Mainly, I just go walking and I wait for something to hit me. And it always does. So the idea of the song, the thing that comes first is the reason why the song should be born. And I get a lot of really great songs that just what's your point? And it's still like that. I still scrap a lot of stuff because I'm thinking, I just can't really figure out the angle for this one. But then I get an idea. So yeah, the idea, the theme comes first. Now, for me, what's it about? And being a songwriter of a lot of songs, you've got to find a lot of things to write about. You can't just have 2 or 3 subjects because, obviously you're going to make them sound pretty boring pretty quick. So I like just being inspired and having a new outlook or a new idea of what it's all about. Boom, there's a song. I could think long enough about just life itself, about being in the countryside. Boom, I've got a song. That's why I can't meditate. This is the problem. I was thinking about this earlier on. It's like, I try and empty my mind and get into this calm space where other things are going to be able to come in. And it doesn't work because I've got music all the time, 24/7 in my head, and which is nice because otherwise I'd just have tinnitus. But I can't get a blank mind. So I figure that the music's all there. The music's already always there. All I've got to do is get inspired by a certain theme or a certain, like I said, reason for the song to be. The music just happens, go shopping for some bits and pieces.